Hey guys, welcome back. I hope everyone is having a fabulous week. So I wanted to take a couple of minutes to discuss a little more about love addiction, which is what we started talking about on the last video. So if you'll remember the last video, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, by the way, please do so. We talked about a couple of characteristics and behavioral traits of a love addict, and a little bit into, I know that's kind of a fine line. A lot of people wonder, am I just, healing? Am I just have been really worked over by a narcissist and I'm just going through the normal steps of the healing process? Or if you've had more than one narcissistic relationship, you may be thinking, especially after you really focus on the characteristics and behavioral patterns of a love addict, you may be questioning that. Am I addicted to love and romance? And is that one of the reasons, the main reason why I have been willing to tolerate this toxic behavior? As I've mentioned many times before, a healthy-minded individual would not tolerate the abuse given to him or her by a narcissist if there wasn't something inside of that person that actually welcomes that kind of treatment. So in my case, as I've said in videos before, I am a recovering love addict who turned to love avoidant. And what that means for me, something that took many years to work through, is that I was hurt so much and tolerated so much abuse from narcissistic individuals, sociopaths, that I tolerated that type of abuse. I welcomed it, honestly, for so long that in what I thought was healing, the healing process, I actually turned to love avoidant, which means that any type of healthy man who would approach me, any type of person who was truly a healthy-minded individual who was capable of loving me, I would push away. So I know I have one viewer who, I love getting messages from you. You're awesome. I know I have one viewer who has asked that before, is she's thought maybe she is actually a love addict just because she gets bored easily with healthy-minded individuals, and yet you're still attracted, or she's still attracted to people who are bad for her. So in other words, just plain and simple, you like the bad boys, and you can't seem to be excited or attracted to the good, healthy type of men. That is me, exactly. My entire young adult life and teenage life, young adult life, was that same exact thing. I loved the bad boys, and I had some brokenness inside of me, which at the time I didn't know what it was, that if I did not have someone I had to chase, someone that I had to beg to love me, someone I had to beg for attention, some bad boy that I was trying to fix, if I didn't have that, if I encountered a gentleman who was, and I use that term seriously, a gentleman, because I wasn't used to that, if I encountered a gentleman who would ask me out, or who, seemed like he was capable of having a healthy relationship, if he was somewhat independent and just pretty much a good guy, I wasn't attracted to that. I didn't have any need in that. There was no attractiveness at all. I didn't think he was sexy. I didn't think he was hot. I didn't think he was good looking. Even if he physically was attractive, there wasn't that click that was there for me with the bad relationships. So for a very long time, it's like I have a really good gift of discernment with people, including myself. I know myself well. And so through my whole entire adult life, I constantly would wonder, why am I like this? There's something wrong with me, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what a word for it. I don't know what to call it. I don't know how to explain this to other people. People probably think that's weird. You just like bad boys. And I knew that that was wrong. As much as I had the feelings in my heart, I knew my brain was telling me, okay, that's not right. There's something wrong with that mentality. So it took me a long time to figure out, one, what to call that, which ultimately was love addiction, and then also how to fix it. If you want to ever have a healthy relationship, which I am in now, you've got to learn how to heal and bypass your, I call it mental illness. You have to learn how to get over your own addiction. A lot of people hear the word addiction, they think about drugs, alcohol, pornography. That's not the only addictions. I happen to have an extremely long genetic history of addictions in my family. grandparents, or grandfathers, not grandmothers, but both of my grandfathers were severe alcoholics. I have a brother who has suffered from drug and alcohol addiction since he was 14 years old, and he's now in his mid to late 40s. He still is. He's still an addict. He's suffered. That demon in his life has attached itself to him his whole life. My father and my other two brothers are extreme workaholics, extremely addicted to working. They've worked their entire lives away to the bone and don't see their families a lot because they get a drive, they get their fix. I have the one brother who gets his fix from methamphetamines and crack cocaine. I have two other brothers who get their fix from working. They barely eat and rarely sleep. They are business owners, just like my father was when he was healthy. My father is actually in hospice now, but he worked himself to death, and I unfortunately have two other brothers that I don't think have come to terms with that yet, that they're probably doing the same things to themselves. They just they get their fix from working. So when you look at genetics, that plays a big part. For me, my addiction was what people call love addiction. It's not the true form of love, but my addiction was love and romance, and that was my addiction, is bad boys. So it is no different than a drug addiction. It's no different than any addiction that you can imagine, just like being a workaholic isn't. Everybody who has an addiction, that means they get their fix from that thing. It's no different. The treatment for addiction is pretty much exactly the same thing. So not different at all. Sorry, if you see me looking away, I've got some commotion in the background, so they probably think I'm crazy out here staring at this phone, videotaping myself. But anyway, back to it. So I want to talk a little bit more about love addiction today. And if you watched the video before and you think that you may have an addiction to love, that's the biggest characteristics right there. I can't get it any more simple than that. You like the bad boys, you don't like the good boys. That was big for me. Big for me. I always thought I could fix these guys and then they were going to turn into my knights in shining armor, just like in some soap opera or storybook. And unfortunately, the longer you go and the more you come to realization of what your addiction is and what it means, you learn that will never happen. So the question had popped up. Several different people have emailed me this, actually. How do you get past that addiction? Well, I wish I could say it was easy and an overnight fix that lasted 5 minutes. That's not the case. Mine has been countless years. You do not have to go that long. Mine took countless years because at first I didn't realize what the problem was. So now, if you're watching this and you think that is your problem and you do have a love addiction, first things first. The biggest thing that finally got me over the hurdle of to stop, you're never going to be fully healed. I figure I've come to terms with the fact that love addiction is the same as any other. If you were once an alcoholic, you always are an alcoholic. You just refrain from drinking alcohol. Same thing with love addiction. Probably something inside of my subconscious and inside of my mind will always be attracted to bad boys. Even when I watch movies, I root for the bad guy. So yeah, it's something you're going to have to face and fight every day. Now, here's the thing. Once you come to terms with what you are or the addiction that you have and how you get your fix, I had a friend tell me not long ago that he was on a soda diet. He had decided not to drink sodas. And he said, you know what the worst thing is he said, I crave those sodas every day. But you know what I do? I never walk down the soda aisle at the grocery store. Exactly. So that's how you get away from temptation. You don't entertain it. So if your addiction is the bad boys and the people, the toxic relationships that are not good for you for whatever reason, if you feel like you can fix them or that just happens to be your thing and you're physically attracted to those type of people, your first thing is to get away from them. We've talked about no contact before. That's your first step. If you are currently involved in a toxic relationship, you must go no contact. If you are not involved in a toxic relationship but you are entertaining the thought of dating a bad boy, yeah, your number one step is going to have to be you have got to cut that loose. You're going to have to immediately get away from toxic behaviored people. So get away from those bad boys. Like my friend said, he wants a Coke so bad he does not go down the soda aisle in the grocery store. You've got to get away from these guys. You don't even entertain the thought of dating them, talking to them, flirting with them. I'd even get rid of them on social media, unfriend them, or if you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, you don't have to unfriend them, just unfollow them so you're not tempted. Take away all that temptation, at least while you're healing from this. So that was my number one step, is I just had to quit getting entertaining the thought of bad boys. You got to break it loose. So during that process, I would encourage you not to date anyone. Not maybe go out with your friends, sure, have fun, but don't date anyone during that time until you get your self-discovery in check and really heal from what you're going through. A lot of love addicts do go through a 12-step program, just like drugs or alcohol or any other kind of addiction. They will go through a 12-step program, and that, I've heard, does absolutely wonders. Also, I wanted to tell you about a book. This book was actually, I think, published in 1994. It's pretty old, but it's an excellent read for love addicts. I really, really encourage you, if you have not read this, to check it out. We didn't have it in our local library, and I couldn't find it on even Amazon Kindle or Audible. Either one, maybe because it's older, I don't know. It's a really well-recognized book, but I did find it on Amazon in paperback form for $1. It was used, but a good condition book for $1, so you can't beat it. So anyway, I really, really encourage you to check this book out if you haven't. The book, like I said, I think was written in '94 by the psychotherapist Howard Halpern. I think I'm saying his last name right. It's Halpern. Excellent psychotherapist who really specializes in love addiction and love avoidance. So the name of the book is called Finally Getting It Right. Finally Getting It Right. It's an excellent book. It's really, really informative, especially if you suffer from love addiction and if you are really serious about changing that and getting help with that addiction so that you can move into a truly healthy relationship. I encourage you to read this book. It's excellent. It's written very easy to read. A lot of books have a lot of big words in it that people are just like, oh, I'm bored with this. No, this book is really easy to read, and he does a really good job with it. So I encourage you to start there and read it. It's not a very long book, very informative. It will help you with a lot of questions that you have. Love addiction is almost the same throughout. Most people who suffer from it, the causes, usually somewhere in your childhood you've had some neglect, maybe abuse, maybe you had a narcissistic parent or someone that you really felt rejected by, that you had to maybe beg love from. I've mentioned numerous times before, I did not come from an abusive home. I had excellent parents. Now, I did have older parents. My parents, I was their midlife surprise. So I had 4 siblings who were already teenagers by the time I came around. So in my family, we had family drama, as I mentioned before. I had a brother who was addicted to drug and alcohol at the time that I came around. I was into the family. So by the time I was born, my parents were exhausted already. They had many, many things going on. I had a sister who had just gotten married and was having a baby. I had 2 other brothers who were involved in grown-up stuff, and then the brother who was had the drug and alcohol addiction. And then, of course, my father owned his own company and was never home. My father worked all the time. There would be days and days that would go by before I would see him. And when he did come home, it was kind of known that I was not to make a peep in the house. Daddy was tired or exhausted, and he didn't want to hear a kid laughing or playing. So most of my childhood I spent alone outside playing with my toys. I loved being outside like I do now, obviously. Still love it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I grew up in a family that was very busy, and I knew my place, and my place as a young child was to be seen and not heard. And so I don't like calling that neglect. I don't think my parents purposely neglected me. I just think that that was our lifestyle at the time. And so I also grew up with a mother. Both of my parents had alcoholic fathers, big part of it. But I also grew up with my mother, who is my best friend today. We have an excellent relationship. But my mother was a very conservative Christian. Our entire family was, and I am now. But she was a very turn-the-cheek kind of person. So I was taught very young that the Christianly way is that if someone does something bad to you, you turn that other cheek. Now, as a young child, I took that not so much figuratively as literally. So that really put a bad impression in my head, especially having a narcissist boyfriend at the age of 14. That first, it set the bar for me on what I thought love was, and as bad as he treated me, I literally turned the other cheek and allowed him to continue to. So growing up in a home like that really set the stage for my love addiction. It did. Again, I don't blame my parents for that. That is just how our lifestyle was. And And sometimes life goes that way. So as a young child, I really had a stage set for me in which I was searching for love. I pretty much raised myself and knew when to be quiet and not to, and did all the right things and always looked pretty and was nice and never begged for toys, and I just was a very mature child. That's how I was raised. So when I first met my first narcissist and he continued to abuse me and I stayed in that toxic relationship, it was because I, in my head, wanted to help him. And the more he abused me, I knew it was because, hurt people, and I knew that he was hurt and he came from an abusive home. And so I stayed thinking that I'm going to turn the other cheek and show him what real love is. Well, that's good for healthy individuals, not for a narcissist, because as we know, takers will take and take and take and take, and givers will give and give and give. Well, I was the giver and he was the taker. And so with a narcissist, you will ultimately give your entire soul away and it still will not be enough. So with a healthy individual who is in time of need, that's different. Of course, it's wonderful to help those people. But when you come across a narcissist or a sociopath who is just going to keep taking from you because their hearts can never, ever be full, you're not going to gain anywhere. Been a young child growing up in such a conservative family, someone looking for love, someone who didn't want to be rejected. I didn't know all that. So that is where my love addiction began. Yes, it began in childhood, and it sadly it got worse into my early teens and then throughout my young life when I only wanted to date narcissists. I only was attracted to bad boys. That's love addiction. So sitting here today, back to the question of how do you heal from that? It takes a long time. It doesn't have to take a long time, and of course everybody grieves and heals differently. So what may not have taken long for some of you took years for me, and vice versa. I will say this, the more you study on it and the more you become self-aware, the faster and the easier you will heal. So for example, by you watching this video, that tells me a lot. It tells me that you are aware that there's something broken inside of you and that you need to fix that. That's your first step. I mean, it really is. By you admitting that, you coming to terms with that realization, you're doing a lot. And I'm really proud of you because that's awesome. Once you realize that you may have a problem, that's the first step to healing it. So here is the big key. With me, every time I would have those addictions towards the bad boy, every time I would really want to go back to my narc, every time I had those temptations of, I miss him so bad, I cannot breathe without him, I'm doing no contact, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, but I literally feel my heart crumbling inside. I miss this toxic person. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, there's something wrong with this. How is it possible to miss or love or crave, be completely craving this person who treated you so horribly? There's something broken inside of me that makes me want that. And you're absolutely right, there is. That's your key right there. You have to separate inside of you, I don't love this person. Yes, it feels like love. Yes, it feels like my heart is breaking in two because I can't. Okay, that's your first step. That is the key. I don't love him. No. It's kind of like having that angel and that devil sitting on each side of your arm. That's how I always refer to it as, because that's what it feels like. Pretend that angel sitting on one side of your shoulder is your true self. Everything that the inside of you and everything that your body is trying to tell you, your true self is sitting there in the angel form. Over here's your devil, and it's saying, but you need that fix. You need him. You need that fix. Don't you want that chemical running through your body just like crack cocaine? Don't you want that fix in your bloodstream with your heart beating fast? And I really need it, and I really need it. I've got to have it. Please call him. Please take him back. Your angel's over here going, don't do that, because that's not what you need. It's almost as though your own self is your enemy. You have two people inside of you. One who is your true self, who's telling you the truth about what you need and what you deserve. Your true self is telling you what you are worth, and you are worth the best. Your other self is your addict. That's your addicted self. That's that little screaming girl inside of you saying, but I need him. I need him. I need this back. I cannot go without him. You don't understand. No, this is what you have to do. You have to come to the terms with, you do not love him. Say that to yourself every time you get that temptation, every time you want to talk to him, every time you want to pick up that phone and break no contact, or every time you want to get involved with this bad boy. You say to yourself, okay, you know what, self, I know that you think you love him, and I know that you think you're going to change this person, and I know you are having all of these chemical withdrawals in your body. but you are an addict. You look in the mirror and tell yourself that if you need to. Save a memo, voice memos on your phone. I do it all the time. I know people probably think that's nuts, right? Nobody hears them but you. Save yourself a voice memo. You are an addict. The true Tanya, in my case, the true Tanya is not talking. This is your addicted self. This is your addiction side screaming for its drug. This is your addiction side screaming for its hit, its fix, its drug. It's no different than a drug. That is what you do. You do that over and over and over. Anytime you get a temptation to call that person, anytime you get a temptation to pick up the phone, to text, to snoop on their social media, to call their best friend and ask what they're doing, to try to run into their grandmother at the grocery store, anytime you get any temptation, do that. Talk to yourself, look in the mirror, go into a bathroom by yourself, get on your phone, alone in your car by yourself, and say, you know what? That's not you talking. That's your addiction talking. Trust me when I say this, the more you do that, the more you really, really talk to your true self, you will come to rely on that voice. And you will come, the more you say something out loud, and I have such a, we all overthink. If you're like me, you're an overthinker. If you're a love addict, I can guarantee you're an overthinker. The more that we talk to ourselves, I have a really strong opinion that if you verbally say something out loud, your subconscious hears that a little bit deeper than if you just think it. So go into that bathroom. Like I said, get alone, private time. Say those things over and over to yourself. I am worthy of a good relationship. I am not worthy of this piece of trash who is going to treat me like dirt. Not worthy of that. This is my addiction talking. Learn to separate the two. Learn to separate your addicted self from your true self. Remember the devil and the angel on each side, okay? That's the more you visualize that in your head, the more you talk to yourself verbally. Yeah, I don't care if people think you're crazy. So what? It's not them healing, it's you. The more you do that, the faster you're going to heal. And I will guarantee you within the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't care if it's 10 years, the more you do that, eventually, and again, it's going to take some people longer than others. The more you do that, you are going to finally one day have that temptation in front of you. And I'm telling you all, every single one of you this because I've been there. I wouldn't tell you this if it weren't true. Eventually, you are going to run into that narc somewhere, okay? I don't care if it's 10 years from now. You're going to run into him. You don't even know how amazing it is going to feel for you to feel nothing. Not even hate, not jealousy, not vengeance, not any kind of anger. Literally look at this person who hurt you so bad that you thought you would never get over. And you are going to feel nothing. What is the opposite of love? Indifference. It's not hate. Hate is an emotion. Indifference is where you literally do not care. It is though the person has never lived, does not live, maybe could have died. That's where you need to be with your narcissist. That's where you need to be with your toxic relationship. That's where you don't need to hate them. You need to feel nothing for them. And I can guarantee you, please keep your head up. Please. I was at a point with every single one of my narcissists. I'm not shy to tell you, I was suicidal. I was in total despair to the fact that I couldn't get up. I thought I was ugly. They had picked apart everything about me physically. I thought, God, I have such a craving and a love for this person. There's no way possible I'm ever going to feel this for anybody else. Guess what? You can. And you can feel it for somebody who's good. You can feel love for somebody who's good for you. If you're a love addict, you're not going to feel that way. Not in the middle of your healing, because you know why? That little devil's sitting there telling you different. You're not listening to your true self. You're listening to that devil on your shoulder. Your addiction. You were listening to your drug. You got to quit doing that. You got to quit doing that. You've got to separate the two. Every time you think, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I love him, I love him, I love him, and you cry in bed, can't get out of bed, cry in the shower, can't get out of the shower, can't go to work, can't get up. And I've been there in every single one of those spots, just like you. I've been there. 10 years ago, if you would have told me I would be sitting here making videos on YouTube for other people, I would have thought you were insane, because I did not see me ever getting out of that. I didn't. Not just once. I didn't see me getting out of it with the first one. I didn't see me getting out of it with the second one or the third. I'm here. I'm here, and I'm not telling you anything that I haven't done myself. You got to do it. You have to trust your inner self. if you are an unbeliever, I truly encourage you to find God. Find the peace in Him that you will not find anywhere else. You have to come to the realization that you cannot do this on your own. You can't do it. God is an amazing, amazing thing that you really, really need to find. And again, I've said that before, that's your personal decision. I'm not pushing religion of any sort over onto you. I'm telling you truthfully because I have been there. That peace that Christ gave me was the only thing that got me through. That inner self. The Holy Spirit was sitting there, no matter how horrible and in despair I was, the Holy Spirit was sitting there saying, Tanya, you can do this. You do not love Him. You love the addiction. Just like a drug. So I'll stop there for today. I really want you all who are having a hard time with this to please, my heart breaks for you because I remember that discouragement so bad, and people would tell me, oh, you're going to get past it, and time heals all. Time heals all. I will say time does not heal all. I don't believe that, but I think that time helps us acclimate to where we heal so that we can help other people. And that's why I love these videos so much. I want to encourage you guys so much. Do not give up. Please do not give up. I was there, and I can't tell you how wonderful my life has been. I've had amazing things. I look back to those days in which I was suicidal, and I used to think, oh, it'll never get better, it'll never get better, it'll never get better. And I can't even tell you how many wonderful things have happened in my life. I have bad things too. I have lots of bad things that happen, just like all of you. Everybody in the world has bad things happen. But I think back to those days that I was so suicidal over these toxic boys and men. I'm not even going to call them men, over these toxic boys. And I think, what if I had ended that? Do you see what I would have missed in my life? I mean, I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm sitting here telling you this. It's amazing how awesome life can be if you give yourself a chance and stop caving into your addictions, okay? Please try your best to stop getting discouraged and understand you're going to come out of this. Keep watching these videos. I promise you are going to come out of this. We'll do it together. Pull these videos up, save them, like them, and so that you can keep them in your history, whatever, so that you can pull them up and watch them over and over again. I really want you to do that, and I want you to come through this. So that's all for today. I'll probably do another video tonight sometime. I think I told you all before, I'm getting ready to have some oral surgery, so I'm not going to be able to talk very well. I'm going to have some wiring in my jaw done. So anyway, I wanted to go ahead and post that, and I'll see you guys later. Have a fabulous afternoon. Hang in there.